As the corporate sector evolves, Burka Africa remains committed to cultivating world-class thought leaders and providing innovative, human-centered solutions that shape a prosperous future for African governments and businesses. About Burka Africa. Burka Africa is a platform that houses expert consultants from across the African sub-region that provide strategic sustainable leadership, organizational development, corporate governance, coaching, and ESG advisory services to businesses and African governments. Burka's strategic thrust is to strengthen strategic alignment for Africa's development by bridging the gap between governments, businesses, and industry experts for leadership and business solutions, serving as a center for excellence and transformative leadership insights in Africa. The consortium is dedicated to shaping ethical, visionary, productive, and sustainable businesses and leadership across Africa. Through advisory, training, and coaching, Burka supports executives, managers, and organizations in achieving excellence, growth, and sustainable impact. Visit our website www.burkafrica.com for more information.
Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you're watching from. My name is MF Adua. I'm currently a data analyst with UNDP, and I'm going to be your moderator for today's session. It's yet another session on the African Youth Leadership Webinar Series. And today we are going to be tackling the topic, leadership lessons from young African change makers. So we'd like to know where you're watching from. Let's know in the chat box your name, where you're watching from, and the country you're from, so we can take it from there. I am Ghanaian, and I'm joining from New York. So let us know your name, where you're watching from, and we'll take it from there. Before we kickstart, I just want to give you like a general overview of today's topic. As I said earlier, today we are going to touch on leadership lessons from young African change makers, just to give you, an intro and then get you ready for this conversation or discussion. So across Africa, a new generation of young leaders is rising, be it innovators, activists, could be entrepreneurs, it could be community builders who are challenging the status quo and then driving meaningful change. They do things from advancing education all the way to technology to promote social justice, environmental sustainability, economic empowerment. And these young African change makers are proving that leadership is not just defined by age, but by vision, the courage to do it, the resilience that they have to take, and then the action that they are taking. So this webinar explores the key leadership lessons that can be learned from these young Africans. I put young Africans because we are the youth who are making impact in their communities and beyond. Participates will examine how these individuals navigate challenges, because definitely, obviously, there's going to be challenges in that path, such as limited resources, systemic barriers, societal expectations, while creating such solutions, and also inspiring others. So this session is going to highlight this critical leadership quality, such as the innovation, which I mentioned earlier, the adaptability, collaboration, of course, with other team members, other personnel, other stakeholders, and integrity. So it's also going to emphasize on importance of local context, how you're going to understand the community's needs, understand their culture, identify shapes effective leadership across the continent, and through a reflection and discussion, participants will be encouraged to see themselves as change makers in their own space, in their own rights. And this webinar is aiming to shift mindsets from waiting for opportunities, while sitting down and waiting for those opportunities to come to you. You are going to create those opportunities and then, create that impact for others to also benefit. And we are going to reinforce the idea that small actions, no matter how small, when it's driven by purpose, it's driven by clarity, can lead to transformative change. So, just to give a bullet points, by the end of this webinar, we want to understand the concept of youth-led change and its relevance in Africa today. We also want to identify key leadership traits demonstrated by young African change makers. We want to recognize these common challenges faced by them and how to overcome them. We want to appreciate the role of innovation, resilience, collaboration in driving impact, because it's not easy. We really have to appreciate these, and we want to reflect on our own potential as leaders and change makers. We also want to develop a mindset of initiative, responsibility, purpose. It's hard, but we want to have that mindset to be able to take up such decisions. And finally, we want to commit, whilst we come to listen, have this discussion. We don't just want to go back and then do nothing. We want to commit to taking practical steps towards creating positive change in your community. It could be something small you want to do in your community and expand it, solve a problem socially or an economic challenge in your country. You want to commit to taking these practical steps. So these are what we are going to look out for and achieve by the end of this webinar session. I introduced myself earlier. I'm Fadwa. I'm an HR analyst, and I'll be your moderator for today. We have two speakers. I'll first of all go ahead and introduce the first one, and then I'll give them the podium to just say hello to all of us, and from there we'll kickstart with the conversation. So our first speaker, we have an amazing speaker here in the name of Abdul Fattah Tia Yakubu, and he is an accounting and finance professional with an MSc in accounting and finance from University of Ghana. And not only that, he also has a BSc from University of Professional Studies, Accra. And currently he's working at Ghana Commercial Bank, PLC. Beyond his professional work, Abdul is a youth development advocate. He's a co-founder of Apply Ghana. He's also an author of The Invisible Disease of Human Soul. He has spoken at several various seminars and webinars on leadership, confidence building, career development, where he shares practical insights on preparations, resilience, writing a strong CV to be able to land that job, and also on personal growth. So I'll give the speaker, I'll hand over the mic to Abdul Fattah. Just say hello to your audience. And
all right, good morning to us all, and my special thanks goes to Berka Africa for this opportunity. In fact, this is a great honor, and I must acknowledge you for that. And special thanks to Jacob. Jacob has been on my neck for the past month to be featured on this program, and it's an honor being here. And good morning to your cherished viewers. Thank you.
Awesome. Nice to hear from you, Yakubi. So, let me quickly go to the chats and see if we have some people joining. Um, so we have, okay, Jacob. I think you mentioned Jacob, right? I'm seeing one Jacob here. I don't know if it's the same. Yukirabi Jacob. He's joining from Accra.
Yes,
I think.
that's him.
Okay. Thank you, Jacob, for putting pressure on his head. Thanks for joining. And we also have Daniel Berlin Kisiedu from Tema, Ghana, joining. Thank you. And we also have Mavis joining from Accra. She's joining from YouTube. Jacob is joining from LinkedIn. Yeah, Daniel is also joining from YouTube. Okay, so we have another speaker I'd like to introduce, who is in the name of Jonathan Mani. I would like to give a brief overview of him, and he will also get the chance to come and then say hello to all of us. And then from there, we kickstart into the conversation. Jonathan Mani is an educator. He is an inspirational speaker, a youth empowerment advocate dedicated to raising purpose-driven leaders through education, faith, and entrepreneurship. He holds a Bachelor of Education in Early Childhood Education and is passionate about mentoring young people to develop transformational mindsets, leadership capacity, and entrepreneurial skills for sustainable success. Not only that, he's also an author. I think there's two things in common. We both speakers are authors. They have written books, and that is very inspiring to know. He's also an author of Global General of Entrepreneurship, A Call to Victorious Life, books that inspire individuals to pursue excellence, to build wealth with purpose, to live impactful lives. Jonathan currently serves as the president of Kingdom Wealth Network, where he leads initiatives focused on leadership development, faith-based empowerment, and entrepreneurial training. So without wasting much time, I'd like to call on Jonathan Mani to also introduce himself, say hello to everybody, and we kickstart the conversation. We're happy and nice to have you, Jonathan.
Hi, good morning. Good morning. I'm happy
Good
to be
morning.
here again. Wow, I had some technical issues joining early.
Mm,
I'm so sorry for that. I'm very grateful for Baker Africa for this privilege once again to be here. I
mm,
think we were here for some weeks ago, and
absolutely.
by the grace of God, we hope to still deliver some value and learn
Mm-hmm.
some here. I'm glad to
Thank
be.
you. Thank you. The last conversation we had was an amazing one, very conversational, very interesting. And I know today's one is going to be amazing as well. Just that it's around the same topic, entrepreneurship, leadership. But today our focus is actually on the lessons learned, lessons learned from African young leaders. And I'm going to kick off first with Abdul. Just want to understand, it's going to be a conversation, as I always say, it's a discussion. We are learning from each other. We are all contributing to the discussion. I want to know from Abdul, who do you think is a young African change maker? Who is a young African change maker? And which of them do you admire and why? Which of them do you admire and why? Over to you, Abdul. Abdul, can you hear me?
Okay. Thank you, MFA. So when you say who do I see as young African change maker, Are you by way asking me to cite an instance or to point to an individual or describe who? Yes, by then it seems your line is breaking a bit.
Okay. Am I audible? Is it clear?
Hello,
No.
MFA.
I'm hearing you. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. All right. So
Okay.
I was saying if you are asking for me to point to an individual who is a change African maker or to describe who young African change maker looks like.
Yes. So my question is, who do you think is a young African change maker? And
All right.
is there anyone like you admire? Who is that one person you admire, and why?
All right. So for me, we have a lot of young African change makers. And from my
Yeah.
perspective, when we say someone is a young African change maker, I am looking at someone who have Africa at heart, who is not just a spectator, who acknowledge the challenges that we are facing as Africa, but doing on his or her own way as a young person to ensure that he or she adds his quota to change some of these challenges that we are going through as Africans. So for me, that is a typical young African change maker that I can see. But for now, I have a lot in mind. There is this gentleman that I've been following on TikTok,
Hmm.
and I can't recall the name, but I admire him so much. He's doing well in Africa. Thank
Okay.
you.
You're welcome. So yes. So for you, it's someone who is passionate about Africa. Someone who have seen the clear challenges and is ready to contribute to the solution, not just being a spectator sitting on the sideline and then not doing nothing, but also contributing to those solutions to cause a change. Yes, which is, yeah, so definitely you should have Africa at heart, because it's first of all boils down from a problem you have seen, a challenge, and how you could solve it to make the world a better place, or to make Africa a better place. I would like to ask this follow-up question. This will go to Jonathan. Do you believe that young people have enough power to create change? Why or why not? I think we've lost Jonathan. Yes, but Abdul, you could take that question briefly, and then
Okay, so I believe that we the young people have the power to trigger change in Africa because now if you go back to the statistics, it tells you clearly um, the makeup of the youth in the population. We are the majority in the population. And
yes,
so I believe that in as much as we um, have to do with the quality, the depth in terms of how hard we are pushing, it, the numbers too count. And so we
yes,
have the numbers as young people. And so it now dawns on us to pick it upon ourselves to come together, stick together, stand as a united force, and then we can cause change. Because most of the young people in Africa, for me, we just sit back and the few people are doing in their own way to cause change, which cannot happen. We have to
yeah,
come together as a united force, and when we come together, we can win any battle.
absolutely. Thanks for that. So yes, the statistics says that the youths are majority. If you take Africa alone, I mean, more than 50%, if my statistics is right, are youth. And this is in comparison to other continents. But Africa alone, majority of the population is youth. So, I mean, it's on us to actually take on these innovative ideas and work on something, because we are vibrant, we have fresh ideas, we have the strength, we of course have the capacity. And so it should, it's, I would say it's like it's compulsory. We have no option. We have no option. We have to just take this on, because after all, who is going to do it for us? We are the majority. And if we don't take it upon ourselves to, you know, because we can see clearly the challenges. If we don't take it upon ourselves to solve these challenges, who are we leaving it for? Are we leaving it for the kids? Are we leaving it for toddlers? Are we leaving it for the elderly that are grown and they are tired, and they are now resting from the jobs or from their youthful ages? So it's on us. It's on us, actually. So I side with you that the population of youths is small, and it's on us. We have to, and we have to, because we also have the power. We have enough power. We have enough competence. We have the capabilities also to create change. Most of the things that I feel like is preventing us is maybe the fear or the challenges. But yes, if it's power, the challenges, the competence, we do have. I'm also curious about this. I want to listen to your side of it. While Jonathan works on the network, what makes leadership in Africa unique? Is there any unique leadership skills in Africa that we use as compared to other regions, like the USA, like the Caribbean, like Asia? Is there any leadership skills that make Africa unique as compared to others?
All right, so this is a very important question.
I would like to know
For
from you.
me, of course, Africa, we have a lot of unique things, but as to whether it is positive or negative, that is another discussion. But for me, our style of leadership is very unique. It's very unique in a sense that even though I've not had the opportunity of, really having, first-hand experience of leadership outside Ghana, but I do observe global trends. And I see a lot of the gap is huge in terms of the uniqueness and the style of leadership in Africa. Africa, I in most cases don't even call it leadership. I always want to call it true leadership, because there is key difference between leadership and true leadership. But we have clustered everything together to be called leadership. But in Africa, most cases, when we say leadership, most of the young people are skewed towards what? Political leadership. And that is what majority of the youth are going after. And you and I can attest to the fact that, how political leadership has led us to where we are now because of political leadership. And we know when we talk about political leadership, it is just limited to the interests of the politician. But as a true leader, you go beyond your personal interest, and then you put the interest or the welfare of the people you are representing or you are serving. And to me, this is the current state of Africa in terms of our leadership style, in terms of how unique it is. It is purely political leadership, which is something the youth has to take upon ourselves to make sure we change the dynamics.
Okay. So yeah, leadership is broad. I think you mentioned on the political leadership side, but of course there are other types of leadership. It's which is not politically inclined. So with what you said, is your focus on just the political leadership aside of things that makes us unique, or the fact that for Africans, just to be clear, that for Africans, what makes us unique, or what's differentiates us from the other side, is the true leadership that we have?
As if you can come again with that.
Okay, I just want to understand that if, with respect to the response, is what makes us set Africa different or unique from the others is on the true leadership which you mentioned earlier, or because towards the end you talked about the political leadership, and I'm saying that we have several leadership styles and we have several types of leadership. So, like, to put it all in whole, like as a whole, is it the true leadership that sets us different and unique, or the political one?
So for me, I think it's the political that sets us apart. And even if you look at the political, it is something that we emulated from outside. But maybe how we have localized it is a problem because political leadership is everywhere. You like it or not, it's everywhere across the world. But how we localize it, how we play with it is the key issue. For me, we haven't really experienced true leadership. We had a lot of great leaders past and gone, and I admire, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah so much. And whenever I talk about true leadership, he comes to mind. So for me,
Absolutely.
maybe we have to go back to our roots. We have to go back to the history where we have started. And then we can pick up some of these things and come together and rebuild the style of leadership that we actually practicing in Africa.
Absolutely. Thanks for the clarification. So yes, so with you, when we talk about true leadership, one person that comes to mind is Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, and you believe that if we have to put everything down and then look at people like that and take up leadership roles, to emulate what they have done. Thanks for that. I feel like we're still losing Jonathan. So once he's not in, it's going to be like a conversation between the two of us. Anytime he gets the chance to join, I'll quickly slide in a question to him before we lost him. So now it's just the two of us. It's just the two of us. So all the questions are going to come to you, and you're going to have the discussion and continue with the conversation. The next question, I would say that, of course, leadership comes with its own challenges. What do you think are the biggest challenges that young African leaders face today? And why is resilience important for sustaining impact? Most of the time, and one of the key, how do I put it? One of the key qualities that every young leader should have is resilience. You can't do without it. It's being adaptable, being resilient is very important. So, what are the biggest challenges African leaders face, and why is resilience so important for sustaining impact?
Okay, thank you so much. I think these are two questions fused together. Okay, but let's delve into it. Now, the challenges, and I have had the opportunity of being a leader at different stages of my life. In fact, wherever I find myself, sometimes I feel like leadership is rather following me. But I have had the opportunity of serving at different stages of my life. And I would like to, stage it to the youth level in terms of the challenges because I'm a young person and we have been on it. We have a lot of challenges, but just as you said, there are some which are biggest. And for me, one of the biggest challenge has to do with the societal expectations. In fact, once you set out to solve some issues within your community, let me just limit it to your community because I believe leadership starts from home, from where you were born, because that's where you have first-hand experiences of the challenges that Africa faces. So once you set out as a young leader, trying to, make amends, trying to push for change to solve some of these issues, you would have a lot of societal expectations from you because one of the things as a leader you must have is how you look. And in Africa, sometimes people misinterpret branding. You brand yourself maybe for opportunities to solve some, problems within your community, but people will see you as a rich person, which is one of the biggest problem in Africa that we face. The societal expectations, a lot of people have expectations from you. Meanwhile, you have not even done with, some of the even personal challenges that you are facing. You haven't even solved them, but still you have added some societal challenges that you are pushing, for some stakeholders to assist you solve. But these societal burdens are just so much. So that is one of the key challenges that I have observed so far. And in fact, we cannot talk about challenges without resources. Africa is a resourceful continent, but most often when we talk about challenges, resources always finds itself back.
Yeah.
When we talk about resources, the first thing has to do with the finances. I mean, I'm a finance person and I understand how it works. Almost everything that you want to do on this earth, one way or the other, deals with finances. You really need money to do
Yes.
certain things. So it's one of the biggest challenges that most African young leaders who are very innovative with brilliant ideas, but they don't have this key resource to turn these ideas to reality, to turn these dreams to reality. So
Mm.
most of them ends, under their pillows. It goes nowhere. So for me, I would just settle on these two challenges because we are going to be talking about the challenges who will not end. So I think we should rather focus on how we can deal with them because I think we are all privy to the challenges. We can see, we can feel them. So
Mm.
yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. And I really side with you on that. Societal expectations from you, very key. And the fact that, I mean, people, it might not only come from your family, but also the people in the area. Okay, they are looking to see if things are really going to go well. And as you said, once you start doing something, they are expecting so much from you, but they don't know that um, as leaders, creating impacts, we also have our own challenges that we face. And it could be finances, it could be, network opportunities to, pitch your idea, to land some money. So it's a lot. So when, as you said, when it comes to the challenges, they are a lot. But what we have to do is, take our eyes off those challenges and overcome them, because of course these are set and bound to happen. So how we can overcome these challenges and be successful to create that impact is what we have to look at. So that takes us actually to the next question, that how can young people identify real problems worth solving? Because you don't just start anything because probably you want to be a leader or you want to start entrepreneurship, or because you see that of late, I mean, that's what the ecosystem, and you see a lot of funding opportunities for entrepreneurs, pitching their ideas. And so probably because of that, you want to go into entrepreneurship because of the opportunities that are available. But the thing is, you don't start anything if you don't see a problem, or you don't identify a problem. Okay, you need to see that problem, you need to identify that problem and know that, okay, this problem is worth solving. Then you can go ahead and solve it. So how do people know that this is like a real problem that is worth solving? It's not something that is not sustainable, and they can actually go ahead and solve that problem. It can be a small idea. With time can lead to like a big change depending on how you go about it, because it's all planning. And of course it has to, you need collaboration to be able to strengthen those initiatives. So what do you think, how can people identify that this problem is really worth solving? It's not something just starting and then in the middle of it it just dies down. You pick another problem or another idea, you work on it, and They're just all over. How can we identify real problems that are worth solving?
Okay, that's a good observation. I mean, the fact that most of us we are everywhere. I mean, we find ourselves everywhere, and then at the end of the day, we don't even solve even a single problem. So that that is where my first point would be focused on. I think first of all, you need to be specific as to the problem. You have
Yes.
to um, you know have a focal point. Once we'll come to how you would spot a real problem, but once the problem is identified, focus
Mm,
on that one for the meantime, because Africa, the problem doesn't end, because the reality is that once you solve one problem, another one comes, and so you have to stick to one problem for the meantime. Once that is done, then we know that by all means or by default automatically another one would come, then you move on to the other. But once you are everywhere, we don't get to feel the impact. And it turned out to just be symbolic. Maybe you are just out there for visibility sake. And that is
mm,
one major problem that we are facing. Because we've had a lot of young people who are out there. There are some stakeholders who may have come to Africa to invest. They give out
mm,
their resources to these people, and at the end of the day, what they are looking out for, which is the impact, they don't get to see. And so even if you are having a real problem to solve, these people may not be interested to solve you because they already have a reference point. They would say that, okay, well, we gave some resources to Kweku, we gave some resources to Jonathan or whosoever, and then we didn't get to see the impact. So they may not be willing to collaborate with you to solve those problems.
mm,
Now, back to how you can identify a real problem. For me, and from my experience, the best way to identify a true problem and can tell that this problem is what's solving is to live it, to experience it. Growing up in your community, MFI, I must tell you that where you are right now, there are some challenges you faced back in your village when you were in Ghana, that you can sit at where you are currently and tell yourself that I don't want the younger generation, the upcoming generation, to go through what I went through, because it was a real problem you faced, you experienced it, and you could tell that this had, a lot of impact, negative impact on you as an individual, and it has a lot of impact, negative impact for that matter, on the community in which that problem emerged. So for me, we are already living in those experiences. It's now dawns on us to how can we, because the problem is that we know the real problems, we actually know the real problems, but our problem is execution. How do we execute? And one of the key ways that we can execute successfully in Africa is to collaborate. Unfortunately, in Africa, we don't like to collaborate. I have seen in Ghana a lot of NGOs, plenty. But what are NGOs for? They are for impact. They are for impact. And so you could have a lot of, I mean, about 10 NGOs within the same community, which could have come together to form a bigger one, so that at least we can actually feel the impact that we are feeling. But because I don't want to work under MFA, I want to be called the CEO of Becca Africa. I want to be the managing director or whatsoever. I don't want to collaborate with you. So once you have Becca Africa, I also say, okay, let me also create Africa. So they are out there, and it looks as if we are doing something, but in reality, we are not doing anything. It's just for visibility sake. So for me, the real problems we know, you and I know, execution is our problem. And one of the key ways we can execute is to collaborate, because as a leader, you must admit to the fact that you can't do everything alone. That is a
yeah.
fact.
Yeah.
You can't do, even if you are just an ordinary person, you can't do everything by your own. And so you would need a team, a dedicated team.
Yeah.
I mean, that is why we have been created differently. Someone has a different idea, someone has different skills. We all came with different backgrounds. Some has economic background, some has finance, some has political back. So when we come together, we have to we can have, a brilliant ideas being pushed forward, and we can have the best solutions being proposed. And I think this is the way, in this way we can be able to solve most of these real problems that you are talking about. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So yes, collaboration is key, very, very key. But as you said, everyone wants to, have separate, NGOs just to do this, almost the same thing once, even though they could come together and then do it as one. And I feel like um, because of maybe personal experiences that they have faced, people working with people is it's kind of difficult, especially if you can't trust them. And sometimes I know a couple of people or people who have gone into partnership or collaboration, and then and at the end of the day, like the whole thing collapsed. And it being collapsed is actually not because of the problem or the challenge they have identified, but it was a partnership problem or it was a collaboration problem. So I feel like maybe that's the reason why a lot of people want to do like a standalone business or a standalone NGO or a standalone, solving problems. But collaboration is actually key. If the three of you or four of you or five of you or 10 of you should come together to solve this problem, the pace at which you're going to create impact will be vast as compared to doing it individually. So it's a two-way thing. Once you pick the right partnership or the right people to collaborate, the impact is massive. The impact is massive. Thanks for your contribution on this. Before we go on the second round of questions, kindly let us know your name if you are new joining this space or this conversation. Kindly let us know your name, where you are joining from, and then we can acknowledge you over here. We want to give a brief announcement before we continue. We want to inform you about a very important upcoming initiative from Becca Africa, and it's on 25th of April, approximately a month from now, where they'll be hosting the African Youth Leaders and Development Program Conference. It's a one-day leadership, okay, and employability conference, and it's themed beyond degrees, hard skills, soft skills, enterprise and ethical leadership for Africa's future. And this is something you don't want to miss, because now most of the opportunities out there are really beyond degrees. In addition to those degrees, you need some hard skills, you need some experience, you need some soft skills, you need some leadership skills. That is what actually sets you apart from the others and makes you unique from the others. So this is a conference that you don't want to miss. It's designed to address a key challenge facing many young graduates across Africa. And you can all attest to it that it's not automatic that you land a job after your degree. So this is actually to address these keys, even though qualification remain important in today's labor market. Today's market is increasingly demanding practical experience, practical skills, innovative thinking ideas, strong leadership capacity, entrepreneurial thinking. So this conference is going to bring together students, young professionals, entrepreneurs, industry leaders to discuss practical strategies for building these relevant hard skills, strengthening soft skills, develop enterprise opportunities, and nurture ethical leadership for sustainable development. Participants will benefit from networking. You get to network with others. You are able to secure like a mentorship, and you also get practical insights from experienced professionals across different sectors. So we encourage you all, whether you're a student, you are a professional, young professional, or anyone else that is interested in personal growth and leadership development, to look out for the registration details and take advantage of this. I don't know who is not interested in personal growth and leadership development at this age, because the ecosystem or the work ecosystem is moving so fast. Tech is taking over, and if you don't always add value to yourself, it will be as short as 6 months. You are going to be obsolete. You are just going to be off the market. So everyone is interested and should be interested in attending this conference to, learn these practical tips to advance your career. We've put most of the details on Facebook, on YouTube, and it's 200 cities. It's just 200 Ghana cities. It's going to be from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. GMT. The flyer is it's live. You could see the details. We have these amazing speakers. You can't miss. This is like a strong lineup of people you don't want to miss. You can network with them when you go. And it's 200 cities. You have 1 month to, save that money and attend this program. It's going to include refreshments, and after the program, certificates are going to be issued. So it's a win-win. It's a win-win. It's a win-win, and we encourage all of you to register and secure your seat now. Okay, we'll head back to the conversation. We'll take a few questions and we'll wrap up. Unfortunately, our second speaker, we've lost him, and we are going to stick to wrapping up the conversations with Abdul. And once we take our final set of questions, we are going to allow for questions from the audience. We take them and we call it a wrap. So Abdul, we are back to the conversation, and I hope you are going to register and secure your seats for this program.
Yes, in fact,
if I was in Ghana, I was going to really attend, because when I look at the lineup of speakers, it's massive.
I do personally recommend this particular conference because, in fact, if you look at the job market currently, it's more of what you can do than even what the degree is of, because as for the degree, it's a paper.
Yeah.
So, and for me, most of these people have been there before, Magdan, for instance, and so this is a great opportunity to have, first-hand interaction with them, and then it also offers a networking opportunity for you, because we also know it's not just about who you know, but who knows you is very important in Africa as it stands. And so this offers a great opportunity to network with like-minded personalities. And then yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much for advocating, and we hope that a lot of you are going to apply and secure seats for this wonderful day. So we continue back to our question. We have a few minutes. We are wrapping up. We want to find out what values are very essential, like very, very important, non-negotiable essential values that young leaders who want to create lasting impact in the sense that an impact that is going to be felt for a long term or forever. What essential values are they supposed to have, and how can these leaders maintain integrity under pressure? Integrity, how can they maintain it?
Okay, sorry. All right. So it appears whenever you ask the question, then you give me a point. That's right. Thank you for that. Integrity is one of the core values of a leader. I don't know how we can call you if you don't have integrity as a leader. Honestly, you have to have that integrity in character. You have to be truthful to yourself at any point in time. And for us in the accountancy field, we know what it means to have integrity. In fact, it's one of the core principles, if I may put it, as a professional accountant. Because what does integrity does? It is about the trust. Once you have integrity, the people will trust you. Because if people don't trust you, how will they follow you? even though the focus of leadership is not about the people but the purpose. In as much as you are not going around looking for followers, just crowd to follow you, it is about purpose. And for me, integrity is one of the key things that young African change makers must possess. And you also asked how we can handle integrity or still sustain it under pressure. So when we talk about pressure, what do you really mean?
Pressure. Before I come to that question, is there any other aside integrity? Is there any other value
Oh
or
yeah.
things that are
So
very
in fact, responsibility is another key core value. You have to be responsible because, in fact, leadership is not a privilege. Leadership is actually an art, and it's a great responsibility. So you need to have responsibility, and in whatever actions that you are taking as a leader. And leadership is not about control; it's about service. And so you have to, by far, being a servant as a leader. And also, we most often see leadership as, because we call our leaders to be, we usually refer them as, someone powerful. But leadership is not about power; it's about empowerment rather. So you need to have that empowerment spirit to be able to inspire people such so much so that even in your absence, the people can depend on themselves. And leadership again is not about manipulation, it's about inspiration, just as I've said. You need to be able to inspire people because once someone lives with you as a leader and the person at the by leaving you or after leaving you is not inspired, then that means that leadership is not successful in that regard. So you need to be able to inspire people. People should be able to see your works and start doing something in their own way. They can see, okay, MFI is doing great things. I'm so inspired. Then they can also start something. That is the inspiration I'm talking about. And I've already spoken about the purpose. You need to have a purpose as a leader. So let me just, there are a lot, but let me just limit them to the most important ones. Thank you.
okay? Absolutely. So responsibility, integrity, empowerment, inspiration, and purpose. These are some of the key non-negotiable essential values that young leaders must have if they want to create a lasting impact. And this it's not negotiable. It's something you must have. If you don't, you might start something, but along the line it will just die off, or you may lose that integrity, or you might not even empower others. You be solely focused on your individual benefits or power that you are going to gain. So if you really want to create a lasting impact, it's not really about yourself, it's about the other people you're impacting, it's about the community. It's a responsibility. It's not like a title or something. So this key. Thank you so much for that. So back to your question about the clarification on maintaining integrity under pressure. Pressure here could mean a lot of things. Okay. Once a leader is able to start something, has built maybe integrity, has built a number of trust, sometimes we get carried away, by the things we are doing, and we might want to change the focus or the reason why we are doing certain things. And sometimes, as you said, when you start something, there's so much of like societal expectations. And for you, your focus is on the impacts, is on empowering others. But not everybody will see it that way. So it's possible that along the side, like along the line, people, are also going to be having different views on different things, and they will be telling you different things that you think that's not matched to what you are doing. And so when the pressure comes from the society, do it this way, do it that way, I think it's faster to do it this way. Go through the shortcuts, go through this, go through that. How are you able to hold on to that integrity? Because if you don't have that capability, you can start something right with a very like good mindset, positive mindset, but along the line, you sway away, or you move away from that, and you start doing things because people have recommended it, or you feel like it's a fast way of doing it, or it's like a shortcut to get what you want. And you end up losing sight of the problem and what you want to solve, and now trying to impress others. So that could be one side of it. Yeah, so that's like to give you an example. Pressure could come from different angles, and how can people actually hold on to their integrity when these things show up or start showing up?
Okay, thank you, MFA, for the clarity. Um, I think just as we have pointed to some key leadership values, first of all, you need to be principle driven. Leadership is not about convenience. So you need to be more of principle driven than convenience driven. You have to, as a leader, define your core values. What are my core values? Early, before you even start your leadership journey, let them guide your decisions. This core value should be able to guide your direction and all decisions that you are making, especially in an uncomfortable or costly situation that you have, or the pressure that you are talking about. So first of all, it's about principles. When you say I stand by A, you need to stand by that principle as a leader. When you are a principle based leader, people can be able to trust you. But if you are someone that you say one today, just as most of our politicians would do, and then you say B tomorrow, I'm not sure you can be able to sustain integrity. Secondly, I think we need to practice radical honesty. You have to communicate truthfully and avoid maybe, some break promises or half truths. Own both successes and failures without shifting blames as a leader. Because sometimes, as young people, especially in Africa, in most cases, we like to blame others for circumstances. Sometimes, I mean, it is ideal, sometimes it is not your fault. But as a leader, just as we have agreed earlier, it's a great responsibility. And so you need to be responsible for both successes and failures. And so even if you know that, well, if I still stand by my integrity, I'm not going to get the resources I am in need of, or what I'm looking for, at least even if it fails, but you stood by your principle.
Mm.
As a leader, that's how it should be. And then if I may add, as a leader, you need to lead by example. You need to lead by example so that when people see you, they can point to you that, okay, MFI is so and so, without any other, clauses like, okay, he's very truthful, but no, your team would mirror your behavior more than your instructions. So how you are, the people that are following you, they'll mirror your behavior, your character, than the instructions that you give them. So you need to demonstrate that standards that you expect from them. And also you have to ensure accountability, and accountability starts from you. You need to be accountable to yourself and be accountable to the people that you are leading.
Mm.
Sometimes we go for donor support and all that. At the end of the day, we are unable to account for what we have used the resources for. And you think they will trust you. They will not. Next time, they will not be able to give you that support. So you need to put systems around, feedback loops, I mean, transparent processes and measurable standard. So ideally, integrity isn't, dependent on mood or pressure. So you need to protect it at all cost as a leader. Thank you.
Thank you. Integrity, you need to protect it at all costs. And as you said, I'm just wrapping up by your words. We need to stick to and stand by our values, which integrity, of course, is one of them: responsibility, empowerment, humility, purpose, inspiration. You need to stand by it, you need to stick to it, and we have to take responsibility, lead by example, because if you don't, others are not going to listen. So it might not be an easy journey. The pressure is going to come, the challenges will come, but Stand by your values, stick to them, take responsibility. Don't push blames or apportion blames on people. Take responsibility. Even if it fails, you know that you stood by your values and things didn't really go well and you'll try again. But don't push blames. Don't try to avoid responsibilities. Don't try to allow your mood or the challenges, to sway you down and make you move away from your values. Thank you so much for your submission. Really appreciate your time. It's good to have you on today's session. I have learned so much. I don't know if there's any question. I've checked the comments. I don't see any questions so far. If there are no questions, our time is up. Thanks for joining, Abdul, and thanks to our lovely viewers joining from Facebook, joining from LinkedIn, joining from YouTube. Do enjoy the rest of the day and see you in our next session. Have a great day. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. You're welcome.
As the corporate sector evolves, Burka Africa remains committed to cultivating world-class thought leaders and providing innovative, human-centered solutions that shape a prosperous future for African governments and businesses. About Burka Africa. Burka Africa is a platform that houses expert consultants from across the African sub-region that provide strategic sustainable leadership, organizational development, corporate governance, coaching, and ESG advisory services to businesses and African governments. Burka's strategic thrust is to strengthen strategic alignment for Africa's development by bridging the gap between governments, businesses, and industry experts for leadership and business solutions, serving as a center for excellence and transformative leadership insights in Africa. The consortium is dedicated to shaping ethical, visionary, productive, and sustainable businesses and leadership across Africa. Through advisory, training, and coaching, Burka supports executives, managers, and organizations in achieving excellence, growth, and sustainable impact. Visit our website www.burkafrica.com for more information.